Radical Radio Collective.
4ZZZ.
Good afternoon, listeners. You're tuned into 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. This is Eco Radio, Australia's longest running peace and environment radio show.
Maybe.
Taking over your middle of the day, middle of the week, middle-ish of the month airwaves. My name is Dave. My pronouns are he, him.
My name is Zack, and my pronouns are he, they.
And I want to start off by acknowledging and paying my respects to the custodians on the country in which we broadcast. We're located in the city Meanjin, on Turrbal, Yugga and Yugambeh land. I also want to acknowledge and pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are listening in today. Our radio waves reach Kabi Kabi and Yinambara country in the north, Waka Waka country in the west. In the east, we pay our respects to the Quandamooka people, and down south we reach the Commonwealth, Nicaragua, Munjali, Wanjarabara, Yugambeh and Bunjalung countries. Thank you to No Idea for all the great ideas, getting into the toads and the cannibalism that they are famous for.
Stealing some eco radio talking points there, I see.
There's enough toad to go around. While they were talking about cannibalisation of cane toads, I don't think they mentioned it, but there's a cane toad tadpole trap that's been developed by water gum, and the compound that they use to attract the cane toad tadpoles in that one is meant to mimic the pheromones produced by the cane toad tadpoles in the first place. Yeah. And the reason why they go towards it is because the cane toad tadpoles think they're getting a free meal. Yeah, they think they're getting fed and they get trapped.
Yeah.
It was developed by UQ, and water gum has the commercial license, the only commercial license for that tadpole trap. And you can get thousands of tadpoles trapped in there, and it's a really effective way to combat.
Remove tadpoles from a body of water.
Instead of, water gum also does the great cane toad bust, which we will talk about in weeks to come. This is such a fantastic way to get rid of cane toads.
Yes. Also, another fun fact about the cane toad cannibalisation in Australia is that because there's this increased pressure from tadpoles cannibalising one another, the cane toads actually spend less time as a tadpole before they turn into an adult. So I don't know the specific numbers on it, but just like it's 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks as a tadpole, as an example.
Right. So that's is that like a part of, are they evolving to do that?
Whenever an invasive species gets put into a new location, they tend to go through a stage of
adaptation,
hyper-evolution, just because the selection pressures are so different to where they're native to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and also, cane toads, not reptiles.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
So
there's some new facts for you. Today on the show, we'll be bringing you more facts. I've got an interview that I recorded with Professor Jane McAdam about the first 3 people given climate visas from Tuvalu. Zack, you'll be playing an interview you did with Debbie Pointing from the Koala Action Group about the carols for koalas happening tomorrow in King George Square.
Yeah.
And, that's what we've got for you today. To kick everything off, in a bit of eco radio tradition, we're going to play a sad song. This is Orville Peck with It's the End of the World.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be back after this. You're listening to 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio.
How do you get your daily fix of 4ZZZ?
Maybe you tune in during your daily commute in the car.
You could just stream it on our website, 4zzz.org.au.
Or maybe you've downloaded the Community Radio Plus app to listen on the go.
You can even ask your smart speakers to play 4ZZZ or Z Digital.
Give it a go.
However you're tuned in,
thanks for listening to 4ZZZ.
Welcome back. You're on 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio. I am Dave.
I am Zack.
And we just heard then from Orville Peck with It's the End of the World. Zack, what have you got for us?
So I'm not going to be playing it, but you're going to be playing it because you're in front of the computer. But we will be playing an interview I did with Debbie Pointing from the Koala Action Group. The Koala Action Group is a Koala Group, focused in the Redlands area. And we're going to be discussing Ormiston College's planned expansion that would involve the removal of 650 prime koala habitat trees. Currently, they are seeking approval from Jared Blahey to approve it, but I've zoned out for a second there. Sorry for the pause. Yeah, they're seeking approval from Jared Blahey to approve it, but they're looking at protesting that tomorrow with the Carols for Koalas that is happening in King George Square at 9 a.m.
All right. Well, let's crack on. This is Debbie Pointing and your interview with her.
On the line with me, I have Debbie Pointing from the Koala Action Group. Debbie is going to be talking to us about some recent-ish events that have been happening at Ormiston College. So, Debbie, I spoke to you back in August about Ormiston College seeking approval to remove koala trees for a school expansion. Could you remind us about the situation?
Yeah, sure, Zach. So Ormiston College want to expand their campus, and that consists of multiple buildings and a new 50-metre Olympic-sized pool, plus 3 new sporting fields, amongst various other things. And that we have no issues with. Schools expand all the time. But where they want to expand, it's actually particularly the 3 new sporting fields. They've already got 6 on the campus existing. They will require the removal of protected core koala habitat, which is actually mapped by the state government as protected. So the 3 new sporting ovals will take out more than 600 trees, koala trees. If the plan is approved, that's sadly what the end result will be.
Could you tell us about the, I suppose, planned offsets of the school? So they have the plan to remove 600 trees, but then they say they're going to plant a lot more trees in the ground. Could you tell us why that's insufficient?
Yeah, so the planting of 500 or so small plants to offset the 650 plus trees they plan to remove, realistically, that will be of no benefit to koalas. They're talking about this, no net loss of habitat, but that's a furphy. Of course, when you're talking about 100-plus-year-old trees in some cases, planting them with a small, whether it's a eucalyptus tree or not, they're not going to be of any use to koalas for around a decade, and even then, they do not make up for the canopy size of what we're seeing existing on the grounds as we speak. And our group also has very, very major doubts about whether they can actually accommodate 500 trees on the campus. It's, as I said, they're expanding with buildings and a myriad of different things. So there's not an extensive area to be planting eucalyptus trees safely that can then grow up to be, big trees 50 years down the track, 50 to 100 years down the track. So the viability for those trees realistically is quite poor because of the concerns around safety with eucalyptus trees, and I don't believe they've even got the space to be able to do that.
Right, so the college has sought approval from the Deputy Premier rather than local council, which in this situation normally you would go to local council for that kind of expansion project. Why is that? So the college did apply to Redland City Council a couple of years ago. Redland City Council, they rejected it and basically said this will need to be done via the state government. They did not approve of their removal of protected habitat, because Redland City Council also have their own overlays, plus you've got the state core koala habitat mapping overlay as well. So there's multiple overlays to try and protect this habitat at a local and state level. So
the council, I suppose, advised the college to go to the state government with what they call a ministerial infrastructure designation. MID is the short terminology. And this is not an unusual process that schools would take. They're happening, all over Queensland, possibly across Australia even. So, but what it does, it bypasses those processes that the council would undertake, like those overlays. It effectively can dismiss those protective overlays. But as I said, in this instance, there's also a state government overlay. So if the state government are serious about protecting koalas in any way, they should reject this proposal based just on that fact alone.
So since I last spoke to you in August, could you give us an update about what has happened since I spoke to you in August?
So our group we've continued an open line of communication with the college because we would like to come to some sort of compromise on this proposal, and that compromise would be that they reconfigure their master plan to exclude the removal of protected habitat. They have not come to the party on that, I suppose you would say. So the community angst about this project has been growing and building. There's been quite a lot of regular roadside awareness activities in and around, or not inside the school grounds, but on the surrounding streets around the school grounds. People have been, community members have been holding up signs just to make the public and the school community aware, because we're finding out that even the parents of the school and the school children themselves were not aware of the extent of how many koala trees would be removed. And it's really well known in that area. It's been designated as a koala safe neighbourhood since 2018. So it's well known amongst the community that koalas regularly are seen using those trees. They, feed in them, breed and rest in the trees that are earmarked for removal. So the community, it is building the concern about this proposal, and the college at this point in time, they're just waiting for the Deputy Premier Jared Blay to make his decision.
So on Thursday the 18th, which will be tomorrow when this gets played over the air, there's going to be an event called Carols for Koalas that is being held in the King George Square in Brisbane. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is a community event, Carols for Koalas, it's going to be led by the Australian Conservation Foundation Community Bayside, but it is a community event where there'll be a lot of members of the community, not just from the Redlands, but across the broader southeast Queensland region, where the concern about koalas is not quite Redlands specific. But this is just an example. It's one of probably many, many examples of where koalas are basically being, under attack as such. Their habitat, that we know they've declined by more than 80%. In the Redlands, they've declined by more than 80%. And it just it's not acceptable, and the community are certainly stepping up, and we're asking them to step up again and be the voice for koalas and let the government and the Ormiston colleges of the world know that this is not acceptable. There has to be a better way to do development. So Thursday's December 18, starting at 9 a.m. in King George Square. So there'll be some well-known carols being sung along, and also there's been a community group have made a video with a very catchy tune, quite specifically to raise awareness of the Ormiston koala issue. So that will be sung on the day as well. We're just asking people to come along with their good cheer, and obviously plenty of drinking water and sun-safe clothing. And if they want to bring a sign saying something like "Save Ormiston Koalas" or something like that, that would be fantastic as well. But it's meant to be a day of celebrating this time of the year, but also, as I said, being the voice for koalas.
Where can people find out more about the Koala Action Group and your work?
So we have got a Facebook page and also a website. We advertise, events, and all the issues that are going on are always sort of advertised on those platforms. Visit those and you can find out more info. And we hope to see you on the 18th next Thursday.
That was my interview with Debbie Pointing from the Koala Action Group about Ormiston College and its planned removal of 650 koala habitat trees. Very disappointing there, I suppose, because the thing I do want to emphasise is that this has been labelled as a koala priority zone by the by the Redland City Council, and so essentially the school is just looking to bypass those regulations by getting approval from the state government, because this has already been rejected by the Redland City Council. Yeah,
so just putting more effort into it, into ways to destroy koala habitat, which are vulnerable endangered species here in Queensland. And just a reminder to everyone, Ormiston College gets $13 million from the government, even though it's a private school. Let's go to a song now. This is Houseplants with Asbestos Meal Deal. You're listening to 4ZZZ, the Eco Radio.
Shout out to Pamela. Thank you very much for resubscribing as a passionate subscriber. Enjoy that sweet passionate subscriber merch.
And we thank you for subscribing to this wonderful station, 4ZZZ. We are the not as wonderful Eco Radio, who are in your ear holes right now. We just heard then from Houseplants with Asbestos Meal Deal, and getting some texts in from people who got asbestos problems. It's any home that was built before the 2000s will have asbestos in it. And then we played a subscriber request. Marky texted in. Marky's working in the bushlands up at on the coast there, and he says he's pulling out corky passion fruit vine and glycine, not his favourite vines. I wonder what is your favourite vine though, Marky, because you requested a song by MNDSGM, Minskum, with Wherever You Are, I'd love to know what your favourite vine is. We also got a text in from Stephen. He says that he explores the bush in Ipswich, and there's a massive new school that uses a koala in its logo. He figures it's either greenwashing or showing kids what used to live there. Very interesting. And another thing that's interesting is that we can have this relationship with our texter-innerers because they subscribe to 4ZZZ. It's part of the subscription process here that they put in a name. It doesn't have to be their real name. It could be any name they like. And it shows up when they text in. If you go to 4zzz.org.au/support and subscribe to this station, you can become part of that relationship and text in to 0420626733 and continue the relationship that we have with our texter-innerers.
Yeah, you can subscribe for as little as $25 for a pet or under 18-year-old, which they're pretty analogous in my opinion. Or if you are a bit more interested in supporting 4ZZZ with that, I suppose, is that one way you could that's one way you could phrase it. You can subscribe for $80, or if you're very passionate about it, $140, and that way you get a t-shirt, a tote bag, some stickers, and I believe there's even a prize if you subscribe this month, which is for the end bar, where you get $250 worth of credit there.
Yeah, which is perfect for the silly season.
Yeah, and you can either use that one in-house if you want to spend some time there, have some drinks, chat around with some people, or I believe you can even get some of that to take home.
Yeah.
Which is, again, excellent time to win that for the silly season. Perhaps if you're having some, I don't know, event on New Year's Day or something along those lines. That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah, that would be sick. And another reason to join 4ZZZ is just to embolden that warm inner glow that you get from volunteering with a community that has been going for 50 years. This is our 50th year. We had our birthday
on the 8th, was it?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
50 years and 9 days old.
Yeah. So, join 4ZZZ. We are people-powered radio. We don't use algorithms. I don't get a computer to tell me what to do. I wouldn't listen if it did. We are here for the community, by the community. Hopefully you enjoy what we do. Let's go to a song now. This is Basic Thugonomics. That's not me describing the song. That's the name of the song. This is by John Cena. This is Zach's pick, if you didn't guess.
Yeah, he retired from wrestling on this weekend that just happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 22 years, and he's done.
So this is for all you environmental wrestlers out there. Sometimes we wrestle with vines. Sometimes we watch men wrestle with each other and women.
Big meaty men slapping each other's meat.
Yeah, okay. This is...
Paradigm Shift's podcast is available online and via your favourite podcasting app, challenging the assumptions of our current society to investigate alternative ways of living for a world based on justice, solidarity and sustainability. Tune in to the Paradigm Shift podcast. Just search The Paradigm Shift, 4ZZZ.
All right, Basic Thugonomics there from John Cena, who apparently retired.
Yeah, from wrestling at least.
From wrestling. He's now a full-time actor. Let's go to a interview I did with Jane McAdam about the 3 people who have just taken the climate visas, or dubbed the climate visas, to move from Tuvalu to Australia. Let's find more out about that.
Today I'm joined by Scientia Professor Jane McAdam. Jane is the Australian Research Council Laureate Fellow and the Director of the Evacuations Research Hub at the Caldor Centre for International Refugee Law at the University of New South Wales. Jane, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for inviting me to join you.
Okay, so I got in contact with you because I wanted to know more about the 3 people from Tuvalu that have been granted visas to Australia, dubbed the climate visa. In our correspondence, I said that these people were climate refugees, but could you tell me why the term climate refugees is not accurate and how these visas differ from a refugee visa?
Yeah, sure. So recently Australia and Tuvalu, 2 years ago now, entered into a treaty which has a number of objectives, but one of them was to create a special human mobility pathway to enable, at the moment, up to 280 people from Tuvalu each year to migrate on a permanent basis to Australia. Now, the backdrop to the treaty, the kind of preamble to it is all framed around the existential threat that climate change poses to this region. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing actually in the treaty provision itself, nor in the visa that Australia's created, that mentions climate change. But broadly speaking, that seems to be the impetus behind this. But whereas a refugee type visa requires you to show that you have a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership of a particular social group. This visa doesn't contain anything like that. In fact, you don't need to show any particular motivation for wanting to come to Australia. Rather, this is a visa that anybody who is over the age of 18 in Tuvalu or of Tuvalu and Tuvalu and living already in Australia or in some other country can apply for. It enables you to work, study, live, go to school, all of that in Australia. Dependents can also be, brought on in the application, and people can move between Australia and Tuvalu. Many people will want to do that. Most people actually don't want to permanently leave Tuvalu. So it's really a visa that gives people, in a sense, ultimate flexibility about if and when and how they want to move. And obviously the backdrop, I mentioned climate change, but Tuvalu is in a very, fragile environmental position when it comes to the impacts of climate change. There's no high land in that country. It's already experiencing very severe impacts from storm surges, flooding, saltwater intrusion, all these sorts of things, which over time are likely to worsen. And even if, the world were to come together today and stop global heating, a lot of this stuff's already baked in. So, there is unfortunately going to be an impact regardless.
Yeah, so you said there that there's no stipulation in the agreement or the Australian Tuvalu Pili Union that brought this visa that it is a threat. People migrate from threat of climate change, but obviously climate change is the issue. Is this more about shoring up friendship between Australia and Tuvalu, or sort of starting a visa program that could then spread to the rest of the Pacific?
Well, my understanding is that the government of Tuvalu approached the government of Australia about creating an arrangement like this. And another part of the treaty I didn't mention is about the importance of adaptation and, assisting Tuvalu in the event of disasters. It's enabling us, but it's also about Pacific partnerships, and we've seen the Australian government develop a number of bilateral partnerships in recent times across the region. So I think for a lot of people, yes, the kind of spectre of climate change is there, but in the more immediate term, I think a lot of people are thinking, well, this is a good opportunity for my children to get an education in Australia, to develop, for adults to develop skills, importantly to send remittances back home to help support family who remain behind. And remittances in the Pacific form a huge part of some Pacific economies, and Tonga, for example, is one of those. So this, none of this is unusual in that sense. And of course, there's been a lot of temporary migration between Pacific countries and Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand's also, both countries also have some small permanent schemes as well, but they've generally been tied to labour mobility. And what's unique about this is that I suppose it is humanitarian in a sense, because you don't have to show any particular link to Australia, any particular reason for wanting to move. But at the same time, it's not that sort of true refugee humanitarian visa, in that you don't need to demonstrate a particular threat that you're facing that's kind of prompting that movement. And sorry, your other question, if you just about whether this is a model maybe for other countries. It could be, but as I say, this was a kind of bilateral treaty that was negotiated. We haven't yet seen something similar happen with Australia and other Pacific countries, but I guess it would be open to them to request that and see what Australia thinks. My understanding is when Kiribati was asked, they said, no, we're not looking to do that at the moment, but certainly across the Pacific, enhancing mobility in response to the impacts of disasters and climate change, is definitely something that's on the agenda regionally.
Yeah, I guess the Australia has played a big part in the Pacific when it comes to disaster relief. Currently, there's an ability for 280 people of the over 10,000 Tuvaluans that can be accepted for an Australian visa like this. In one of your articles on the conversation, you mentioned that the Samoan Prime Minister, Fiame Naomi Mataafa, suggested the Pacific could create a European Union-like entity and enable free travel in the region. Would that be able to protect people from the anticipation of those natural disasters and climate change that are affecting these nations?
Well, it would certainly give people options, but the political likelihood of that occurring, I think, is at the moment probably remote. That said, in November 2023, all Pacific countries, or all countries of the Pacific Islands Forum, and that includes Australia and New Zealand, adopted a declaration. They didn't adopt a declaration. They adopted something called the Pacific Regional Framework on Climate Mobility, and it's not a legal document, but it is a kind of political expression of the sorts of cooperative practices that would be needed to support mobility in the Pacific. And that, I should say, that also includes enabling people to stay safely at home through adaptation and investing resources locally, because most Pacific peoples don't want to go anywhere permanently. There is a very strong connection to land and sea in the same way that Indigenous Australians have that connection. But obviously, it's helpful for people to have options to move and to move early rather than to have to wait till the situation becomes truly, dire. And so, all of that is being discussed in broad terms, regionally what can be done. But I haven't seen any moves on foot to kind of go that step further and create a sphere of free movement like the European Union has, for example.
No, it is an interesting idea. However, the World Bank estimates that more than 200 million people could be internally displaced by climate change by 2050. What can Australia do to help those displaced people? Or are we overconfident, and are we actually going to be part of those displaced people because of climate problems?
Yeah, I mean, we've already had Australians who are internally displaced by fires and floods and other disasters. I think we don't conceptualise it that way. We don't use that language often.
No.
But certainly we see it here. I mean, just from the Black Summer fires of 2019-2020, it was estimated that 65,000 people were displaced, and that didn't even include tourists. So, the numbers can be quite significant. What can we do? Well, I think, a number of things. Obviously, mitigation is key, but even with that, there are still going to be knock-on effects already. So it is investing in adaptation, in disaster risk reduction and disaster risk management. It's providing assistance to other countries financially, but also, resources and skills where that's requested. But it is about doing similar things to what we've done with Tuvalu in creating opportunities for people to move. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to create brand new visas. It could be, not having quite as high entry requirements for certain other visas if people are coming from particular parts of the world that are really experiencing these impacts very significantly. In some cases, it can mean planned relocations of communities, and we've seen that in Australia too, in Grantham, for example, where a whole town kind of basically relocated. Not everyone went, but a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And, Fiji, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, they all have now sort of internal policies about this stuff and are undertaking those relocations already. So, that's generally seen as a last resort, but that's kind of where we're getting to in some cases now.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Jane, for joining me. I find this a really fascinating subject. Where can people find out more about your work?
Well, I'm at the Kaldor Centre for International Refugee Law at UNSW, so you can Google that. We also have something called the Climate Mobility Hub. So if you look that up, that will take you straight through to a lot of information and resources about this and related issues. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. It's been a great pleasure.
Absolutely.
That was Scientia Professor Jane McAdam. She is the Australian Research Council Laureate Fellow and the Director of the Evacuations Research Hub at the Caldors Centre for International Refugee Law at UNSW. Let's go to a song now. This is Ain't It Funny by Bloom Parade. You're listening to 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio.
You're listening to Eco Radio on 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. Everything's connected.
Ka-cha!
Everything is connected. Wrong soundbite there, Dave. That one will get played in about 8 minutes or so.
We just heard then from Bloom Parade with Ain't It Funny, and we got a few texts in. A big thank you to all the people texting in about our show. We really work hard on this, and we're glad that you enjoy it. What we have now is a segment that I like to call the Bushcare Roundup. This is where we give a collated list of a few things people can get up to in the environment and peace volunteering area, and it goes a little something like this.
It's a Bushcare Roundup. They've been pulling out weeds and then they put in trees. It's the Bushcare Roundup.
All right, happening on December the 18th, which is tomorrow, at 9 o'clock. You can go to the Carols for Koalas at King George Square in Brisbane City. We talked about that earlier. And then at 6 o'clock at night, you can go to the Festive Frog Night. That's at Noosa Parks Association Environment Centre in Noosaville. Thank you, Mr. Stalin. I'm glad that you enjoy the sting. At 6:30, you can go to the Gold Coast ToadTrack Community Toad Bust. That's happening in Elanora.
Before we continue, I do want to say that saying thank you, Mr. Stalin, without any context is quite funny.
Yeah.
On Friday the 19th at 3 p.m, there is the Kurilpa Common Farm Working Bee and Potluck. That one is in Highgate Hill at the Kurilpa Commons. And on Saturday the 20th from 7 till 9 a.m, there's the Kalinga Park Final Working Bee for 2025. And that one is at Kalinga Park in Nundah.
On Sunday, the 21st at 6 a.m, you can go to the Taringa Community Gardening Working Bee. That's at 9 Heroes Avenue, Toowong. At 7 o'clock, you can go to the Christmas Working Bee at Whites Hill Reserve. That's in Camp Hill. And at 8 o'clock, you can go to the Orchid Pod Working Bee. That's at Kurilpa Street Community Garden in the Gap.
And that's it for the Bushcare Roundup for this coming week.
Yeah, that's everything we've got. We did want to say, though, there is a really interesting story that I'm not seeing anyone else
talk about.
I saw, Zack, you showed me that David Crisafulli has renamed Stereo Lane in Brisbane CBD to Crisafulli Street.
That's right. We're getting some narcissism present in the Premier, naming a street after themselves. So if you guys know where Pancake Manor is, along that strip of shops there, just up behind it to the right, if you're facing it, there was a place called Stereo Lane that is now Crisafulli Street.
Yeah, Kate, our librarian, just came through the window and is shocked at this news. It is on Google Maps and Waze.
Yeah, so I assume it's official then. I haven't seen anyone else talk about it.
I haven't seen any ABC articles. I won't say Brisbane Times articles. I haven't seen anything.
It's not quite as grand as like God Emperor Trump getting statues made out of themselves, but at least it's in the same vein.
It's the Australian version.
Yeah,
it's so Australian, right, that he's changed what is a lane to a street.
Can it even be a street it's not? It's double-sided.
It's actually, if you can't travel all the way through it, if it's blocked off on one end, is it even a street? It's the type of mind-melding thinking that happens with, I don't know, narcissists.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty nuts. And I look forward to hearing more about it and put in the Premier 2 question. Let's go out with a song now. Let's go to Mum's Cardigan. Should have told you. How about this? You're listening to 4ZZZ. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Eco Radio. We're going to hand you off to the coolest cat on radio now, Jordan, with Sonic Alien. They're going to be talking to Loose Content and the Melodies Echo Chamber here on 4ZZZ. See you next time.
4ZZZ. Eco Radio. Radical Radio Collective. 4ZZZ.
4ZZZ is a proudly independent community radio station. We've been supported by our listeners since 1975. If you like what we do, you can support us for a whole year by subscribing to 4ZZZ online, over the phone, or in person at the station. Visit 4ZZZ.org.au/support for more details on how to keep community radio thriving.